Welcome, Legion, to my review of Mercenaries. Mercenaries was a game for the original Xbox. It's recently been released, well, it was released a while ago. It's taken me a while to get to this view, but it was released as a free game to download on Xbox One. And the basis is that you are a mercenary dropped into North Korean DMZ, or a demilitarized war zone, I'm sorry. And currently there are multiple factions fighting over this territory that the North Koreans have taken over because, you know, they're really bad people. And their job is to, not me though, South Koreans, we're cool. Like, the North Koreans are cool though. They're bad people. So basically there's this kind of like organization of their hierarchy that is the officer hierarchy, and they're like a card deck. There's like the Ace of Spades, the Queen of Hearts, and these are different officers in this Korean military. In the beginning, you pick from 3 different operators you can pick from. You can pick from Chris Jacobs. He's an American. He's basically just like a military boy, son of a U.S. Army colonel, and he can take the most damage. He doesn't say this, but he's actually the slowest character in the game. He's very tough. You know, I gotta pick up my girl, Jennifer Moy here. She's Chinese, but she's British. Confusing, somehow. But she's my favorite. She's the fastest. And then Nielsen is this guy. You'll recognize him actually from the second Mercenaries game, which I will not review. And he's just some Swede. And I don't think that there's really any true characteristics that he really brings to the table. Also, he's very slow as well. It actually opens with, once you select your character, it opens with a very, very, very obviously made by, like, maybe a 12-year-old complication of North Korea invading. And when you're on the field, doing your thing, destroying things, you're going to have this morale from the different factions. And it's going to go down depending on what you do. Like, basically just shoot North Korean people whenever you see them. Like, if there's a soldier and there's a faction, just shoot in front of them. It's going to make your morale go up. Now, when your morale goes up towards the faction, they'll give you contracts. Just as long as it's neutral, that's all that really matters. And they all have these little things that they sit in. They're kind of like headquarters. And there's Russians, and there's Chinese, and there's South Koreans. There's the American ones, which we directly report to. A lot of times your main mission comes from them. And, you know, the different factions all kind of like don't like each other. So you will take jobs from factions that are opposed that you may be neutral with. The only reason that you should ever be hostile with them is if you want to, like, ruin the experience for yourself, because being hostile with all factions at once will make the game really hard. Because pretty much the whole premise of the game is you're shooting North Koreans, and yeah, the factions don't like each other, but they like the North Koreans a lot less. So if you're hostile with any of the factions, everyone's just going to shoot you in sight. I mean, everyone. I mean, tanks, bombs, they're going to throw grenades at you. So to make it neutral, you can basically just do jobs, but a lot of the jobs require some sort of stealth if you're doing it against another faction, and to be honest, that's pretty hard to do when you're using a machine gun, and the silenced pistols and assault rifles really suck at doing anything. You do have this ability once you get far enough in the story, which isn't really far. The Russian mob will actually deliver vehicles and heavy munitions to you, and you can press start and kind of like deliver airstrikes, and this is the big part of Mercenaries. This was the selling point, the ability to just drop airstrikes and vehicles wherever you wanted. This is before Saints Row. This was before all the games like Ghost Recon Wildlands, where you could just drop your things whenever you want. And you have this ability to have air-dropped like explosives or vehicles or munitions and airstrikes, and this is really cool. The buildings are actually, mostly all of them are destructible. And this is cool, but you might not want to do that because, like, especially if you destroy an entire city, and you can pretty much destroy everything besides the main places where you get missions, like the Russian place and the North Korean base. It's a pretty desolate world, and it's not just, you know, desolate in the sense where there's, like, not a lot of stuff. I mean, there's not a lot of people. There's, like, a few civilians you can hide in, and you can, like, blend in as the civilians or blend in a faction to get in their car. But besides that, there's not a lot going on. So you're going to want to keep the buildings mostly just for cover. Stealth segments are really hard without cover, obviously. people will drive tanks around casually, and if they're North Korean or they are hostile to you, they will shoot you. So if there's no buildings around you, it's gonna hit you like immediately. The enemies all have tremendous aim, and it's very difficult to dodge their shots. So this is something that you might not want to do. I mean, I would recommend bombing a place if there's a lot of enemies in it, or if there's an officer you need to kill, or like vehicles you need to destroy, but that's it. The game is pretty solid. It runs good on the Xbox One. The vehicles handle like trash. I wasn't expecting Forza Horizon here, but I was expecting it to not be this terrible. The weapons are good and crisp. They're pretty accurate. But I really wish they would have fixed the driving a little bit more. Besides that, it's a great game. It's a very small game. It's 2 gigs, but I recommend downloading it if you can off the store, or getting it, somewhere at discount bin and playing it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
I'm good, Fiona. 5 by 5.
You know they say the DMZ is the most dangerous place on Earth.
I know.
But still, $100 million. You think you could spend that much money in one lifetime?
You know me. I've got expensive tastes.